Okay, awesome. Are we good to go then, is it, or what? Okay, great. Oh my God, Bejoy, I'm super thrilled to have you on the podcast, and you've been extremely kind. Um, you know, kind for the fact that you even got me to get in touch with you and making this happen. And I'm really thrilled. I'm really thrilled because
I saw some of the podcasts you did, and I was quite excited with all the people who came on board. So I think that's how I got in touch, because I'd seen some of the earlier podcasts.
Oh, you have? Which one did you actually see? I'm just curious now.
I saw bits of the one with Nidhi.
Yeah, Srinidhi. Yeah, that's a funny one.
Yeah. And I know her from a very long time back when I was working with her with Rahman sir. So I was quite excited to hear her insights about Rahman sir.
Yeah. I mean, we had heaps to talk, but we couldn't cover it in that 1 hour, 30 minutes podcast. So I've invited her again. So we're catching up again for 2.0 very soon, because there's a lot of stuff that needs to be discussed. And to be brutally honest, I want to know everything. Great. And so Bejoy, I take it you're a morning person. You're probably one of the first guests who said, okay, let's do a 9 a.m. podcast.
Well, as filmmakers, you kind of are forced to be a morning person, because you sometimes have shoots early morning, and especially when you're working with Mani sir and all that. So you're kind of you have no choice, but you end up becoming a morning person.
Really? Okay. So isn't there but how do you handle the night shoots and stuff?
Night shoots, of course. Night shoots are a different thing altogether.
Yeah.
Then you have a turnaround day and all that.
Right.
Most of our shoots almost 70-80% of the shoots always start at about 6:37 in the morning. So you end up becoming a morning person.
Right. Okay, awesome. And you find it easier to shift between the routines, day and night, as and when required?
Not really. You kind of schedule it in such a way wherein the entire thing is in a chunk, so that the nights are all in one go together.
Understand. Oh, wow. Right. And that's what basically happens in the pre-production planning and all. Right.
Yeah.
I have heaps to talk to you, Bejoy. I'm actually super excited because, look, there are no questions per se. It's more like conversations, and then things that I'll be asking you or wanting to know is more like a childlike enthusiasm, wanting to know what goes behind the scenes into making things and stuff like that. But before we dive into that stuff, I just basically wanted to rekindle some of your childhood memories. I'm sure we all have grown up listening to ARR sir's music. What comes to your mind? What's your childhood been like? And then when was the first time you basically had this ARR music impact, so to speak?
I think, like all of us, the first album that we all got hooked to with Rahman sir was Roja, and I remember very clearly where I heard Roja for the first time, and how that whole year was about Roja. I was about that sound that kind of became like this new shot in the arm kind of sound, which we hadn't really heard in mainstream film music. And then I mean, everybody knew who he was. I mean, he just came like Nami there, and everybody was like aware of this new talent that came on board. So, I was just hooked onto the music, and I was just waiting for what is he gonna do next. And then Pudhiya Mugam came, and I remember like I was at my friend's house when I got the cassette for Pudhiya Mugam, the Magna Sound album. I remember.
Correct.
And all of us sitting and just listening to the album. And those were the times, right, when a new album used to come out, we used to actually sit and listen to the whole album. And I remember listening to the whole album and already like marking which are the ones we like more than the other, and predicting which one might become our favorite later. And I remember listening to that so well. I remember Pudhiya Mugam was like then on a loop till the next one came out. So with every album there was so much anticipation, and so me and this other friend of mine called Dr. Ganesh, he was like obsessed to another level. and I thought that I was like the biggest fan, but he was even more, because he used to not buy the album. He used to not buy the cassette
Yeah.
that was. He had a guy in Chennai who would buy the album and then re-record it on a high-end was it PDK, a Panasonic cassette, like, and so the
Amazing.
quality, yeah. And then he used to send it, courier it to him. So he used to only wait for that and listen to it only on the high quality cassette, not listen to it on the regular tape and all. And so he was that obsessed, and I used to wait for his cassettes to come so that we could sit and listen to it in my car or in his house.
Yeah.
So this is what our childhood Rahman fanatism was like. You know, we used to really, I used to definitely wait for every album, and I didn't even I mean, that time we had no internet, so we used to only wait to read about some movies that have Rahman sir's music. So we used to read about in magazines or in articles, something like that. So suddenly when an album dropped which you didn't even hear about, I remember that happened once or twice. It happened that I didn't even know that this album was done by Rahman sir, and suddenly the trailer would come or the teaser would come. That excitement of suddenly seeing his name there and like, oh my god, I didn't even know about this album. It's coming out now, and you can't rewind, right, when it plays.
Yeah.
So you have to wait for it to play back. The loop had to play back, or you have to go to other channels, somehow see if the trailer would play again.
Yeah.
So all that excitement, all that anticipation of Rahman sir's music, I would be lying if I say that even now, if it still doesn't exist. Like even now, I do get excited when I hear is like right. I think recently he did one. I didn't even know that he did one Telugu song.
Yeah.
With Ratnam, right?
Correct. That was a surprise.
That was a surprise, right? I had no clue, but suddenly when it dropped, I got so excited. Like I had to drop everything and to listen to it first, you know. So I think that quality of waiting for his music and in so much anticipation and getting excited, that is still very much there.
Oh my god, I actually can see myself, my reflection there. Oh, I did not imagine that you were actually one of us. Oh my goodness, you're like hardcore.
Very much.
Superb.
I remember Doli Sajagan, I was in my one aunt's house late in the night, just about to pass out, and the TV was playing, and I'd heard the Doli Sajagan, I had heard the song once somewhere, I guess, but I didn't know that it was Rahman sir. And then the song played, and then the credit came. I got so excited. I jumped out of my bed, and I was like, "Oh my god, when is this album gonna come out?" I remember that so vividly.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
I love it. And from there, taking a few steps ahead, you had the opportunity to meet him for the first time ever. And I know there's a story.
Yeah. There's a very funny story about that. How I was not allowed to meet him. Because I was part of this Yahoo group. I think I'm still a member of the Yahoo group called the ARR fan club, ARR fans club or something like that.
Yeah.
So we were very active on that group. Everybody used to keep chatting about stuff. In fact, there were some really hardcore guys on that group. They used to collect all his albums, background score pieces, and put it together on FTP server so that we could all download and all that. It was quite hardcore for that time. So when I got an opportunity to work with Mani sir on Guru, I couldn't contain my excitement because I was going to meet Rahman sir, because I'm going to work on Guru, and I'm going to at some point go to meet him. So I put it out on the group that, listen guys, I'm here, this is what I'm doing, I'm going to be meeting all that was there. And I think till that point was okay, but then someone in the group said some shit about the film, like,
oh god.
So then I couldn't take that, because somebody was talking shit about Mani sir, someone talking shit about Guru. So then I gave it back to them, saying, what do you guys even know about? You had no clue, something like that. I kind of argued back with them. And the next day I got a call from Mani sir, who called me to his cabin, and he said that he got to know about, because Rahman sir's one of the guys who works there was part of the group.
Yeah.
And he read it, obviously, that how I was defending the film and even saying something about the film, which is still in the pre-production stage. And that's when Mani sir called me and said that I heard that you've been active in this group and you've been talking about the film. If I get to hear that you are talking about the film, you will not be working with us again. And I was like, shit, okay. And then he said that Rahman sir has told us to keep you as far as away as possible from the studio. So throughout the making of Guru, I never got a chance. I never went because this was like a warning, right? And I kind of blew up first chance. So I think once in the whole making of Guru, once I went to pick up some parcel or something. I'd gone. And even then I was like not sure whether I would be allowed or not. But that's all. I got to see him only once throughout the making of Guru.
And he didn't remember or anything, right?
No, he didn't.
Yeah.
He didn't. I think one of his team members must have said all that. So he didn't. He was completely chill with it. Then I think I got to meet him more often during Ravan. Ravan is when I got to spend more time with him.
Yeah.
And then I made my film, and then I used to show my stuff to him. And I think David, I remember one of the first cuts of David, when I think 2 stories were shot, I actually sat down. He sat and watched David with me. And so I spent a lot of time in the studio that time and interacted with him.
Nice.
He used to I used to go to meet him for maybe 20 minutes, half an hour, but he used to actually sit for 2-3 hours at a stretch. He used to he used to just randomly take their time off. I didn't know that he was going to take that time off. So he used to do that, and I really cherished those times because I had such a good time jamming with him. And it would not be it would be about stories, about scripts, about movies. We used to chat about a lot of stuff, and it was really he had that really childlike quality of discussing movies and discussing. He used to be so excited about certain scripts, certain movies. So I had a really good time. I remember my wife also had come for one of the sessions. And she didn't expect that. She thought we'll just go meet him for 5 minutes and come out. And we sat for about 2 hours with him in his apartment in Bombay.
Yeah.
Where we chatted late in the night. We were chatting about movies. It was a fun experience.
Nice. And you obviously would have got to see his how should I put it? His sense of humor side of him.
Yeah. Of course. In fact, that's the first thing I saw. I told you the first time when I went to pick up something, he was he said something to the other AD. The other AD used to come every day, I guess, to pick up stuff. So he was just he told his security guard, just make sure they put some stickers out and put stones and all, so that this guy can't come. It was bothering him so much that every day coming and asking for hard disk. He's in front of the AD was telling the security, just try and make sure this guy doesn't come from tomorrow. Let's put some stones or something in his path or something like that. So that's the first thing I heard when I met him. And he said it with such a straight face. I thought he was being serious. Then I looked at it, and then the security guy started laughing. Then I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, that's him for sure. And what was it like working on Ravan? And that's when you obviously got to interact with him more.
I think I interacted with him most during the music video that I did.
The Laadli.
That's the time I kind of jammed with him a lot.
Yeah.
Spent a lot of time doing that. Ravan was, of course, I was part of all the recording and everything. So it was, I was just like a fly on the wall. I was enjoying just being part of the process of making that music. So I think almost every, except for Khilire, I think almost every other track I was Khilire and Ja Ud Ja Re. I think those 2 tracks are part of the recording. But the other songs and all, I used to go with Manish and I used to be there in the recording and all. So it was a great experience to watch the music happen. I think Ravan was the first time I got to see the music happening in front of my eyes. So
when you say music happening, was he actually composing while you guys were there?
Yes. He was composing, so I was part of the process where he was composing. I was part of the process where he was recording. Though the composing part, I think maybe he had one-on-one sessions with Sir already. So when I was there, I saw a half-done project already. The tune was already there. He was just adding stuff to it. It was adding more and more stuff to it. And then, of course, from there, then I went to the recording, and then the recording, I saw the singers come and give it more life, kind of thing. So that's been part of my thing.
Right. Okay. Now, this is me being absolutely curious. Now, let's take the example of Raman, right? And then when you head out to shoot a song, you obviously have probably what's called a shooting track. I'm just making it up. It might be a different name. Me being a complete outsider, I'm just assuming things, that's all. So when you head out to shoot with a shooting track, let's say, or an initial draft track, it's not fully produced. It's not a full track. So you go out, shoot a song, and then you come back, and then the music is still evolving, and then it is probably fully produced when it goes to the mastering stage or prior to the audio launch, whatever that is. Has there been an instance where you had to go back and reshoot the stuff because the quality obviously has obviously been evolved, and then it's much larger than what you had imagined from a fully produced track perspective? Has there been an instance you had to go back and reshoot because you had to do justice for the fully produced track?
No. I don't, at least with Mani sir, I've not seen him go reshoot something because the song has got better.
Right.
I've seen songs getting re-edited. It was shot for a certain rhythm, shot for a certain, with a certain visual rhythm in mind. But because, like you said, certain elements have got enhanced, sounding fuller and bigger, then in the edit, he's changed things to suit that. I've seen that.
Understand.
Like the first pass of the edit would be different, but then the final track, the second pass of the edit would be different. So I've seen that happen. I've not, we've never gone and reshot stuff because of that. But this is like I've seen that so many times. Even now, I'm sure all the Ponniyin songs and all that I've been listening to, I know what he's gonna do. I think now I know. Now we all know what Rahman sir does when he gives us a temp track to shoot, and how the final produced track finally comes out. So that jump I've been part of. Because you're shooting with a temp track, and then finally when the album is going to release is when suddenly you hear the same track, but it sounds so different, so large sometimes, and sometimes the voice that you would have heard in the temp will be completely different in the final thing, and that voice would have just changed the song altogether. So I think Yamole from Guru was one example. Shot with the temp track, and then finally it was Bapilari's voice, which we had not even thought of, and Bapilari's voice just added so much to it. It became like a different thing altogether. So so that happens a lot. It's definitely a lot and becomes different. But we've never gone on reshots.
Yeah, because I was just curious, because we as ARR fans, we always look for certain nuances in a track when it releases, and we know where exactly the ting sound will come and stuff like that. I'm just making it up. So that's why I was curious as to, because you would have shot in a certain way, and then probably the fully produced track has certain elements that probably needs to be justified, and how. So that's why I was just being curious. That's all. So
Laadli I shot, and then later on it changed again. I shot with the temp track, and then of course Lataji's voice came. Some percussion happened, some different things, elements came in, and it just was a different thing altogether.
Right. Yeah, I definitely want to deep dive into
for that to suit what was the final output.
Understand. So I definitely wanted to deep dive into the Laadli track, especially because, so since you mentioned you went and shot with the temp track, it wasn't Lataji's voice in the temp? Right.
No.
But did you know it was going to be Lataji's voice?
Yeah, we knew that because he told us, and he was in fact trying to get us the final recorded track before we left for shoot. So till the last minute we were gonna get, but then it didn't work out with her schedule.
Understand. Right. And when the video came out, I absolutely loved it. I loved that track. Whenever the track plays, especially when Sir's part comes in, I feel like it is me singing it, and I start singing along. That usually happens in the bathroom, which I don't want to dive into. But what I wanted to ask you though is, in the video credits of that particular music video, the concept credit is credited to Sir. So he had a certain vision for this music video to be shot. Is that why?
Yeah, he was very clear about what he wanted with the video. So I can't take any credit for. I just executed his vision, hopefully to the kind of optimum level he wanted. But the entire concept was his. It was his idea of what he wanted, and
Right.
So each of those episodes, I just bounced off some ideas for the episodes, but the entire concept was his altogether.
Right. Understand. And this is just me being me. For the first time ever when I watched it, and when Sir's vocals comes in, I was hoping to see him somewhere. Did you have that as a plan somewhere and you wanted to feature him, or he just outrightly said he's not going to be there? I'm just trying to dig out stuff.
So now see, that was not there in the temp track. He didn't sing the temp track. So I didn't know. If I'd known, maybe definitely I would have, cornered him and shot with him. So that came later. So then I was like, okay, now I have to just make do with what we have.
Right. And of course, since you said it was his vision, what was the kind of briefing he said or gave you before you went out to shoot that song?
Oh, we spent a lot of time jamming on the concept of how we want to start, and
right.
The father and daughter thing. I think initially that was the idea that I kind of came back with. I wanted this journey of this little girl who becomes this pilot, but who's every woman today kind of thing. Who has shades of all the women today. So he wanted to see different shades of this woman. So this girl becomes this woman. So he keeping that brief in mind, he was coming up with ideas of what all we can incorporate, what all we can show, and be it the cycle race, be it her going to the temple, be it her going to the mosque, and be it her at her friend's wedding, be it her with her parents when she's leaving. So and finally her flying the craft. So it was a lot of these bits that we came up with 7-8 different ideas and finally zoned in on one.
Right.
The father and daughter, like in the beginning and the end, was an idea that I came up with, so that it ties it up together.
Beautiful.
So that's
it's a very well, I absolutely love it.
That doesn't have music because that was planned without music in the beginning. There's that moment with the father and daughter, and then her running paper plane. That was without music, and that's when the music kind of kicks in when she's running in.
Right.
So that was planned.
Understand.
But again, it was also with the we were constantly jamming on it.
Right. And completely out of curiosity, how long did it actually take to shoot that song?
I think 3 days. We shot it in 3 days.
3 days, wow. And you had... this is just me being a complete outsider from the film industry and stuff. I don't know how it operates. So please don't mind me with my curious questions. But do you have a set budget? Like say it has to be finished within 3 days and you have to nail it?
Yeah, of course. So there was a clear budget on it. And Sharda ma'am, who works...
Trilok.
Sharda Trilok ma'am. She was the producer on it with me. And we had just worked together on David together. So... there was a budget that we both worked on for the short and for the music video, and we managed it within that. We executed within that.
Right. Great. It's definitely very well done, and then it's one of my favorite tracks. It plays even now. Bejoy, do you go back and listen to those tracks?
I love the track. I love the track. In fact, I love listening to a lot of Rahman sir's stuff which some of them which are not released, some of them which are like just kind of available on YouTube. I keep digging out those kind of tracks.
Like which one? Give me an example.
I think one of his most underrated albums is that Andi Mandare.
Andi Mandare, yeah, true.
It is Uyiru Neene. That's one track, I think.
Yep. Yeah.
The album is very underrated. And then some of his tracks that he does for international albums, but there'll be like 1 or 2 tracks in the albums, which is really like Retreat has one track, which is so nice, and Warriors of Heaven and Earth has a track. So I keep listening to stuff like that, which are like not the maybe the massively popular Rahman sir album, I go back and of course his background score pieces are something that I absolutely love. So I
Yeah.
listen to those a lot.
Wow, amazing, amazing. You have to be part of the I Love ARR community, honestly. So,
I am. I already am in my own little way. I am.
of course, of course. And I'm going to send you 2 T-shirts exclusively for you, just as a little thank you. I'm not ending the podcast yet, but just me being thankful for the fact that you're sharing your fanboism side of yourself in this podcast, which I'd never imagined. I'm so happy that this has happened. It's like in terms of a blessing, because if it wasn't for this journey, I probably would have never had this opportunity to meet you or to know you about the fanboism side of you.
I met a composer that I frequently collaborate with, Prashant Pillai, and
Prashant Pillai.
On the Rahman sir fan group. That's where we met and connected for the first time, and he started working together.
Amazing. And so I think it was last week or the week before, I had put a story up on Instagram saying Bejoy is joining me on the podcast. And then there were 10 people who sent through their questions. And funny enough, all the 10 questions were exactly the same. And would you want to take a guess what the question would be? I'm pretty sure you will know.
No idea. What's
When are you working with ARR in a feature film? That's the question. Or why haven't you worked yet?
I think I'd gone to him with a couple of subjects that I was gonna do, and it used to be one of those sessions that I used to go and spend time with him, and I used to jam and I used to pitch him the film that I want to make, and I used to talk to him about it, and he used to give me his feedback on it, and he used to kind of mull over it, and I remember telling that if he connects to it, I would love to work with him on that. But weirdly, the 1 or 2 films that I pitched, those films didn't happen.
Right.
Those films didn't happen, and some other films happened, and those films I was not sure whether, because I was very sure of a certain kind of a soundscape, and I really wanted to work with so many different composers, so that never happened. But there were these other films that I wanted him to be part of, and I pitched, but those films didn't happen. And he also never kind of confirmed. He was like thinking about it. Then recently, I think about 2 years ago, I knew that there was this one subject which I knew that I really, really wanted him to be part of. And I had a gut feeling that he will connect to it. And I went to meet him, and we sat, and I told him the story. And as I had expected, he liked it. He said, finally, there is no darkness in this. There is a lot of light in this story, he said. And I remember that so well. And I said, yeah, that's the reason I came to you also. I really wanted him to do this. And he said, yes, this we will do. That was the only, I think, of all the so many different subjects I spoke to him, this was the only subject that in the first meeting only he heard, and he said that this we will do. So this, but again, weirdly, this film, that film also, it was stuck, and I have never been able to kind of mount it. But I know that that's a film I'm going to make at some point, and that film, I know that I'm not going to go anywhere. I'm just going to make sure I'll make the film also, and I'll still wait for Rahman sir to score it and Rahman sir to give me songs for it, because
Amazing.
I know that he's like the subject. I know that at some point he will give me some time for it. So that's definitely, it's my long time dream to work with him on a film. So I'll definitely. In fact, Laadli was an opportunity like that, but still, it's not enough. For me, it's not enough. I definitely want to do a feature which has Rahman's music in it. So
for sure,
I hope it happens soon. But there is something else which I might as well talk about it here. Again, about 5-6 years ago, I think 5-6 years ago, I met him in LA. I just went to meet him, and he was in LA, and I was in Detroit at that point. I don't know what I went to meet him for. I went to meet him for one of those subjects. I went to meet him to pitch him a subject, because we were trying to coordinate a meeting, and then he told me he's in LA. I said, I'll just fly down if you want. And he said, yeah, come over. So I went to his LA house where he was working. And I went to, I think, I'm not sure to talk about a subject. But that conversation got over quickly. And then we started talking on another subject, idea. And we jammed on one idea. We jammed together on one idea, and we both got excited with the idea, and we spoke about that idea for about 2-3 hours. And I left that place telling him that, you know what, I love this idea. I'm going to work on this. And come back to you. And I came back to India and I worked on that idea with another friend of mine. And we kind of developed that idea into an outline, a story. And that's an idea that I think, again, the concept was kind of, we came up with it together. And I don't even know if it's a feature, if it's a series, but that's an idea. I've been going back and forth with him. I've been telling him that he needs to actually, listen to what I've done with it, and he needs to kind of jam with me whenever he has a time. But I've not had the opportunity to sit with him to discuss the idea. But there's a whole, almost like a script there, which is kind of that we both have kind of come up with. And I'm hoping that idea at some point I'll get to make. So that's, and of course, if it's his idea, and I'm hoping he'll only do the music for that also. So that's something, somewhere down the line, I definitely want to do that also. That was like a story idea that we both worked on.
Yeah. Fingers crossed, both of those ideas actually come together. And yeah, I really hope, because we as fans, we are really waiting to watch the magic. I'm pretty sure it's going to be amazing. I mean, I can already tell. So
fingers crossed.
And whenever I get to speak to Sir again, I'll tell him, Sir, you please have to work with Bejoy again. We as fans are waiting for it. In fact, I'll send a clip of this podcast over to him and let him know.
Maybe he'll remind him. He'll also remember. Arey, haan, idea. Because now he's got like a bag of so many ideas, and he's constantly developing so many things. I'm talking about stories, not music.
Yeah.
He's got so many projects that he himself is writing, he himself is developing. So and he's so excited about those ideas. He's also kind of trying to. I think 99 songs took that time, but it was finally it was his vision of what he really wanted to do with stories that he was working on. So that's something that's constantly happening with him now. He's exploring new turf and new territories in storytelling. Even the virtual thing that he's done, it's quite something. I've seen, by the way, I've been privy enough to see some of it. So it's quite trippy, and it's quite cool that he's exploring this new avenues and trying to do new forms of storytelling, and so he's also kind of excited with that. So I guess I have to kind of somehow pull him back and try and convince him on these two ideas.
For sure. I'm sure it'll happen. And I want to talk about Navarasa. So obviously you directed one of the how should I say, episodes in it, if I can call it that way. And I do know for the fact that Mani sir gave you the story and got you to direct it. Didn't you have the option to tap into ARR's music into that?
No, we didn't know. Like I didn't know, because think about it. It's Navarasa, it's 9 stories. So I thought it would not be right for me to ask Rahman sir to do music for like one story, and it'll kind of somehow I felt it was not right to ask.
Right.
But then he ended up doing it for Arvind sir, maybe because Arvind sir and him are like pals, right? So when I heard it, I was like, damn, I lost the opportunity. I didn't even get a chance to to go to him, because I didn't know that option was available.
Yeah.
I'm definitely happy him for it otherwise.
Right.
And I'm happy he did the track that he did for the whole thing. That was beautiful what he did. Indeed,
completely agree. And were you happy the way Navarasa was received? Did it align with your expectations?
No, it did. I expected much more. I really expected much more. It's a story very close to my heart. now I'm talking purely about Edri, not Navarasa.
Yeah.
Of course, I mean, I think going in, the whole thing for anthologies are always going to be a mixed bag. People will always choose favorites.
Correct.
They'll have their pick for it. So that's the risk you run with anthologies. But specifically for Edri, I did get a lot of love for Edri. I got a lot of love. But I think the filmmaker in me wanted a bit more because I feel it's something very personal and it's one of my best work. It's one of my most creatively satisfying work of mine, and I was hoping it will get more love than what it actually did.
Right. So, I wanted to get your perspective on something. So, especially with the things that have changed with the pandemic and everything that has happened in the last 1 to 2 years, with the OTT platform gaining more traction than anything else, how do you measure what's successful and what isn't? So, just trying to get, do you get to see any data analytics and things like that as a movie maker? Do you have that luxury to see those kind of reports? How does it work?
The platforms don't share those kind of reports with us at all. So there is no way to measure the success other than basic perception through. In fact, earlier, at least with films, when they release in the theaters, there's the box office becomes the meter of success. You get to know how much money the movie has made. But here, it's all about the perception. I think how much of an impact the show or the movie has made, and how much of a talking point the show or the movie is how you decide whether it's and you have to really kind of do a deep dive and kind of keep going through all the feedback to kind of, I mean, that's what I personally do, to kind of get a weighted average of is it really more positive, more negative, and if negative, what has not worked, if positive, what has worked. So you have to kind of really study that more rather than, because platforms don't share the data.
Right.
They share broad data, but otherwise they don't share the actual data.
Understand.
It's very, very, in fact, for filmmakers like me, it's kind of I find it really challenging and difficult for us to not be able to understand how much of an impact, because you might assume that reading, say, 3 negative reviews, that it's not worked at all, but the actual thing must be something else altogether. It must have been viewed so many more times, even though it's got negative, but it's actually been viewed. People have really sampled it more. So and the vice versa can also happen. You think it's great impact by the 4-5 great reviews you got, but it's actually not been viewed so many times. It's actually not been sampled so many times. So both can happen. So it's kind of a bit of a mixed bag.
Right. So you don't even get to get some kind of indicative figure of this is the number of views, so to speak. Even
no, you don't get the number of views for sure. But there is an agency called Ormax. Ormax releases stuff like the most viewed and most popular and all that. So Ormax has some science and data behind it, which releases data. So that is definitely one indicator for sure. But you get the exact numbers and specifics.
Understand. So because if we had to completely base it on the reviews and the stuff that we hear and the word of mouth, etc., I don't know, it may not be accurate, right? Because you may even come across some dumbasses coming up with some stupid reviews, even not having watched it properly and things. You know where I'm trying to get to.
Now everybody's a critic. Everybody who's got a phone and who can do a video log is a critic. So and some of them actually, I know a lot of people, they actually use those guys as validation to show post their reviews saying that they're not even people, like some of them are kids, some of them are have no idea of cinema, and they're just talking and it's okay. I think everybody has an opinion, it's okay, but you can't really legitimize that and saying that that's the validation you are kind of seeking for. I understand when you post reviews of critics of people who study cinema and actually give a clear review of what the modern show is about. but now we are posting stuff of everyone. Now everyone is a critic now.
So you, as a filmmaker, will have to pick and choose the reviews that you want to read or watch.
Correct. I do that. So I have like categories. I like there's some bunch of critics that whose work I follow, and I would want to know what they think, because I kind of concur with most of the reviews that they do, and I like the way they review something. So then how they would criticize or review my film, I would want to know, because there is some learning there. There's something that you take away from that.
Right. Right. Understand. And now this is again something that I just cannot resist asking you, but me being a complete outsider again. So let's say I am a filmmaker and I made a movie and it's ready to release on Netflix or Prime, whatever that is. Now there is a certain dollar figure or something that's been on the agreement, and then the movie's gone to them and it's going to be released on certain date, whatever that is. So as a filmmaker, you're already broken even in terms of how much you have invested and how much you're getting in returns. So there is no such thing as profits per se, because you don't get to know how many views it has gone or what's been the ROI. Yeah, you know where.
So now there are different kind of deals that are being structured. So either you sell your film in perpetuity. So then once you're sold, that's it. Or you license it out to them for a certain tenure, for a certain period.
Right.
So you do that, then even if the thing is done really well, the impact is very solid and it's really grown in numbers.
Yeah.
Then the second license, you can actually charge them a premium, or you can go to shop it around to another platform, or you have that choice to kind of but at that particular time, even if it is done crazy numbers, to expect profits from it, that won't happen, because they're not sharing that kind of data. That's not being structured like that.
Right. Yeah. It's an interesting space. Yeah, I've always been curious about stuff like this. So
Squid Game right now is like the number one show, right?
Correct.
So the second season will definitely have a massive premium on it, because now everybody knows the kind of impact it's had. So I'm presuming they would renegotiate or whatever it is. It will be on a much larger scale. It will not be done in the same bracket.
Right. Okay. Awesome. And this is again something that occurred in my mind just prior to the podcast. I was just thinking through it. Now, of course, you had quite a great journey working with Mani sir and the team. Now, just sort of complete curiosity.
I still have.
Say that again.
I still have.
Of course, and a long way to go, no doubt. And so, for every movie, no doubt there is a lot of hard work that goes into making a film and stuff like that. So how does Mani sir and the team deal with a project that didn't quite do well? How do you guys actually deal with something like that after investing 100% of your effort into making something, but it didn't quite work the way that you expected?
They've been part of this industry way before even I kind of came into this mix, right? So they have seen, and even earlier actually with him, because he Mani sir is comes from a film family, like as a producer. So they've seen this up and downs, way earlier. So they've been programmed to kind of process and deal with it a certain way. With every project, of course, your heart and soul goes into it. But when it does well, great. When it doesn't do well, you have to kind of accept it and take. I think you have to take the takeaway from it. You have to really see what is, because I feel even with failures, even with setbacks, if you don't understand why it has not connected the way you imagined it to, you need to really at least get to about 70 to 80% of that learning has to come through of what has not connected, because then you will end up growing as a filmmaker. Otherwise you might end up thinking that you made a classic, but then it's not managed to communicate, and you might end up continuing on the same path.
Yeah.
But that learning to take away is very, very important. And and this again something I've learned from Mani sir only. And like I said, they've been dealing with this ups and downs from way back, from when he was a child, and he must have seen all this. So they are programmed very differently.
Right.
I have the last 10-15 years, I have seen enough number of downs for me to be, now I'm used to the downs. I'm waiting for the bigger ups now. So I'm like,
Beautiful.
I'm also becoming a veteran in the downs now. So I'm trying to make sure that I program myself better to deal with it better, so that I can process it better and I can learn from it better. That's all.
Yeah, I love the optimism there. So, and as an extension to that, because most of Manisa's movies are made by his own production house, Madras Talkies, right? So, they obviously look at from a financial perspective as well, that they need to break even regardless whether it works or not. That's how they look at it too.
That's how almost all producers work. That's what I mean. Every producer, nobody makes a film thinking that this is going to be a loss-making venture. Everybody, on paper, everything is set in a certain way that they know that this is a feasible project. When I say feasible project, that irrespective of there is a certain amount of risk that you take.
Yeah,
that's like known risk you take, but the rest of it is kind of covered. You know that so much of it is covered, that so much of it there will be a return on investment. So I think every producer works with that kind of thing, and everybody works with that margin of, that you know the risk appetite, and you kind of budget the film, or you mount the film on that basis based on your risk appetite.
Right. So does that mean that usually they break even regardless?
Yeah, of course. In fact, that's the people assume that when a film is a flop, that the producers end up losing a lot, like everything that they invest. It's not like that.
Yeah.
Film is there are avenues to monetize it, so they will still recover. They'll still recover money. They'll still make some money out of it. It's not like.
But that will be a process.
That'll be a process. It'll take some time, and you might, like I said, you might break even. It might happen over a period of time. So and now even more. Now I'm saying even more because now there are many more avenues to monetize your film. It's not just OTT. It's OTT. It's satellite. It's music. It's international rights. It's air rights. So there are so many different rights that you can monetize your film.
Understand. Great. And of course, look, working with Mani sir's team, I can imagine the amount of pre-production work that will happen prior to going in and shooting it. So does usually things go as per plan? Or the reason why I ask is, during the pre-production stage, do you actually have mitigation strategies on if this works, if say option B, option C, whatever that is, do you have those plans planned out as well before you head out?
100%. We have like enough backup plans when we strategize and we figure out that this is the and it all depends on the number of variables, in the sense that when you're doing a film like, for example, Okay Kanmani, the variables are not too many. It's a smaller setup. It's limited number of actors, limited setups and all that. So then you can work out enough number of backups for it to, then you can work around those variables quickly. But when you're mounting a film like Ponniyin Selvan, which has, 800, 900 people on set every day, and, from 17 actors, different. So then the variables are horses, everything, then the variables are different. Then you have to kind of plan even harder, so that you kind of have you make it in such a way wherein you're not wasting your resources, you're not wasting the time. So there, the planning becomes, and there are many more people also in terms of resources. The team is much bigger, and so then the planning is on a much bigger scale, and like you're talking about, strategizing and having backups are way more. So
understand.
It depends from project to project. But yeah, of course, everything is pre-planned and all that happens way in advance, and of course, with Mani sir, everything changes the last minute also. We'll be ready for that also.
So what happens then when something changes in the last minute?
You gear up. You kind of because see, if that's his vision, that our job is to make sure that we serve that vision. We help in executing that vision. So even if he changes something last minute, we have to just as a team make sure that he is able to realize what he wants to the optimum level. So we go all out. The entire team just works, bends over backwards to make sure that we come close to what he wants.
Right. And
that's what it's supposed to do, right? I mean, we are supposed to serve the director's vision.
For sure, I understand. But you being part of the team, which means that you would have your certain inputs as well, right? What I'm trying to ask is, are there any creative conflicts at all that will happen as part of that process, and then you arrive at a balance somewhere? Or he's always right and he has the final say?
He has the final say for sure, because it's his film, it's his vision. But creative inputs are always there, and not just from me, from the entire team. Everybody pitches in because be the production designer, be the cameraman.
So he's receptive to things.
100%, and he listens to everyone. It's his say finally. He decides finally, but then he takes suggestions, he takes inputs from everyone. So he's and I think that's that's something again I have learned from him to be receptive to, and it's your choice whether you want to take it or not. But then to hear people out, because they're also trying to see how to enhance your vision. They're not just giving an opinion for the sake of it. They're also seeing how they can optimize this experience of making it. So you should be, we'll be foolish not to take that. So
right.
I mean, as a team, definitely we all pitch in, and and it sometimes leads to conflicts. It sometimes leads to him not agreeing with us, and we still fighting it out with him. But finally, there is a balance for sure.
And these creative discussions, or the little how should I say, little conflicts or whatever, I don't want to use the conflict word. This happens in the pre-production or during production, regardless.
Happens at every stage.
Right.
We make sure it doesn't happen because during shoot, we don't. We make sure that it's going as per what he wanted, and at that point, we best not to bring up anything with him, because his focus needs to be on the scene that he's shooting.
Right.
But before he comes to shoot, break time, lunch break is so critical in Manisha said I can't believe. Lunch break, because we just wait for the lunch to get over so that quickly we can use that 10 minutes to discuss maybe 15 things with him for the next day of the next setup and all that. So it's before you come to shoot, the lunch breaks, and of course after pack up. It always happens. I'm talking about other than the pre-production time when you
understand. Yeah.
During shoot, it happens during all these times.
How long does a lunch break go for? I'm just curious.
A lot of times we don't get lunch breaks. So,
oh.
I'm kidding. Most we have I think there are union rules, so we follow the union rules, and we have like a 45 minutes to an hour lunch break.
Right. And it's usually at a set time. Look, these are the things me as an outsider wanting to know. That's all. So usually at 1 p.m. every day, or it just depends.
So the Tamil Nadu union has certain rules of a certain time for lunch break.
Wow.
So
you need to adhere to that.
Adhere to that. If you can't, like certain in instances you can't adhere to because you're still stuck shooting, then you have to pay an extra amount to the union for that.
Right.
Each worker gets paid an extra amount for not giving the lunch break on time. So I think Tamil Nadu has very strict rules about it. Bombay does that rules. Maharashtra union does not have those kind of rules. But each industry has its own rules like that.
Understand? Oh wow. Okay, it's governed to that level. Wow.
And time it's supposed to call lunch break. It's supposed to.
Right.
Then you're kind of going. You're paying that extra amount.
Understand. And then the temp track or the shooting track that we discussed about earlier, you usually have that in the pre-production stage, or you have it at the time of the shooting? How long? What kind of notice? Like how long before a shoot do you get?
Varies. Sometimes he must have recorded songs way earlier and is there. Sometimes it comes very close to shoot. So it varies.
Right. And when it comes, it usually comes to, let's say, Mani sir. He shares it with the team and then he gets inputs from everyone?
No, he doesn't share with the team. He'll play it for the team. He'll not share it with the team. He gives it to very specific people because we guard the scripts we guard the songs, we got all that very, very tightly. So I have been part of such that I have never got access to songs. Guru had never had any access to songs. Ravan had never had any access to songs till the last stage. So now Ponniyin Selvan, even now I remember Cartwell Day, I used to ask, like, I want to listen to it one more time. So the AD who's working under me used to not give the track to me. They'll play it for me, but they'll not give it to me. They are that guarded about it, and I like that it's like that. There is a strict code that we follow, so that there is no pilferage and people don't just share randomly. So they're very particular about sharing scripts, sharing any kind of media or tracks. And that's what I follow in my
for sure thinking. For sure. And when you receive it, is that the first time the team and Mani sir would hear it, or he would have heard it before?
He would have heard it before. He would have definitely been. He would have worked with him, Rahman sir, a couple of times before we get to hear the track.
Yeah, great. And so, look, just wondering, what's a day in a set with Mani sir's team? Just give me a little brief. Huh?
I can't, because it's just on a daily basis. I mean, I've been working on Ponniyin Selvan for the last 2 years now, and that has been such a ride, because I've never worked on a film. I worked with Mani sir.
Yeah.
This has been such a different experience, because I never worked on a mythological before, and this kind of movie, and at this scale, I think it's the biggest film I ever worked on. So I can't tell you how one day in Mani sir's set is like, because every day is a different experience. Especially Ponniyin Selvan was like a crazy experience, because I never imagined that I'll get a chance to work on a project like this, where I'll get to be part of a story which is being told in this scale and this size and this kind of element of fantasy and the old world coming in. So it was very special for me to work on this, because it was a really surreal experience for me to work on a project like this. With Mani sir, it's really special. It's anyway there is a lot of learning that happens, but this one was extremely special. This one was really special because I got to work with so many different people on this project, and I'm not talking about just the actors. The actors themselves, there's so many actors in the film, but the kind of technicians who came on board, the kind of livestock I got to work with. Like, I never worked with horses, like I never worked with elephants. I got to work with so many different elements, so many different variables, that it was really, really special. So I actually enjoyed a lot.
And just me being cheeky, having heard the music of Ponniyin Selvan, what is it like? Without having to reveal anything.
It's kick-ass, obviously. You don't need me to tell you that. I mean, weirdly for this film, I think a lot of the tracks were already done. I think because he had time, so there were a lot of work for the tracks were already done before we went on the shoot. So I didn't hear one track. I heard like some 4-5 tracks at one go.
Oof.
So it was obviously each one was better than the others. So it was awesome.
I don't want to try to dig, but is there a track that Sir has sung at all?
I can't tell you.
Okay. Right.
I'll tell you, I'll have to kill you.
Great. Bejoy, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on the podcast, and I thoroughly enjoyed all the conversations. So I just can't wait to have you back again, because I have an idea in my mind that I want to do as part of Podcast 2.0, but I want to work on that idea before I approach you for it. So yeah, but I absolutely enjoyed it. So is there anything that you wanted to talk about and I didn't touch on, or it didn't happen as part of the conversations? Is there absolutely anything?
I'm actually thankful that, first of all, thank you so much for inviting me for this podcast. I thank you for the opportunity, and thank you for the work that you're doing. Thank you for interviewing people who are close to him.
Thank you.
Because it's for Rahman fans like me. and for fans who don't have that kind of access to him, to get that insight into his process, to get an insight into his music, and to understand his music better. It is such a nice initiative by you, and that's something I think fans like me are very grateful for. So thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
doing this. And,
Thank you.
I guess I'm available anytime, so we can always connect back and chat more whenever you want. And I'll be more than happy to come back on. In fact, I'll be looking forward to the other podcasts that you do with others. I really enjoyed the Srinidhi one because I know how Srinidhi worked and used to work with Raman sir, and how close she was. So to get an understanding of her take on and her anecdotes of her, it was so nice to hear all that. I mean, I know her, but I still didn't know all this. So it was so
Yeah.
nice to insight into all that. I really look forward to more podcasts like that too.
Amazing.
And even though, like I said, I have that access, I still want to know more. So I'm still that boy who waits to see the trailer with Raman's name on it and get excited. So I'm still there. So I
sure.
get excited anything about Raman sir.
So amazing. Yeah, and thank you so much for your very kind words. And I'm doing this journey just purely out of love and respect for sir, and I'm doing it with utmost integrity. And there is no monetization whatsoever. So you will never see an ad in any of the podcasts. And I've turned it off. I've not even signed up for it because that's how I wanted it to be. Because I just wanted to cherish all these moments or memories. And 2 years later, 3 years later, when I look back, I want this to bring a smile. So yeah, that is the intent, and that's how it's going to be. And so thrilled to have had you on the podcast. So before I let you go, message for sir, and I'll share this clip over to him.
Message for sir. Sir, I hope I'm not saying anything here which will piss you off and you'll again not allow me into your studio. So please allow me back into your studio. Message for sir that I'm looking forward to just jamming with him on his story ideas and my story ideas. And I think the biggest message I want to send across is please work with me soon. And I really hope that we can work on a film together.
Beautiful, and I can't wait for that. Amazing. Bejoy, thank you so much for your very, very valuable time, especially on a weekend and after being super busy with the shoots. I can imagine you still made time for me. That makes me feel very, very special and blessed. So thank you so much.